So with all the anime ending last season, you would think that I'd want to do a video maybe Shimatsu no Harem or even Attack on Titan, and don't get me wrong, I definitely do. But I couldn't bring myself to really start it. The only thing I could really do is look forward to more Shield Hero actually. So I actually rewatched the whole season right before season 2, and I wanted to talk about season 1. So Shield Hero is a pretty loaded anime, and it's either talking about everything in a detailed analysis because there's so much to the show, or just kind of giving a very broad overview of the show. But I'm going to try to go somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to try to keep this a fairly moderate spoiler-free review. So if you haven't seen Shield Hero, you can stick around and watch it because for the most part, the only details I may go over in the first couple episodes, but I won't be talking about too much spoiler territory in this video. I said that in one of my earlier videos that Mushoku Tensei really cured my burnout for isekai, and someone made me realize actually in the comments of one of my videos that it actually kind of cured my burnout for anime as well, because I've been watching more anime recently than I have in a very long time, and Shield Hero does something different than other isekais. But before we get into that, let's start at the very beginning. The show revolves around our main character, Naofumi, who is a, kind of shut-in nerd. He goes to the library one day and starts reading this book, and it's a book about these legendary 4 heroes, and it's about the shield hero, the sword hero, the spear hero, and the bow hero. But once he starts trying to read more about the shield hero, he gets sucked into this alternate world. But he finds out he's not alone. He's sucked in with 3 other members, each of them wielding their respective weapons that I mentioned earlier, with him having the shield. The world starts to operate like a video game, he realizes. You level up, there's equipment, there's attachments, there's so much into this game. It makes me jealous that I haven't seen a game just as detailed as Shield Hero actually. But I digress. The 4 heroes are informed that they've been teleported to a kingdom, and their king tells them that they are the last line of defense from something called waves, a giant event that can wipe out humanity essentially. So other people in the world can buy other weapons and upgrade weapons and things like that, but Naofumi is a shield hero. He can't use a sword, he has no attack stats, and yes, they actually have literal numerical stats, which is what makes it like that MMO or RPG feel. So this is where that show starts to take that turn I mentioned earlier, and it's a very uncomfortable turn. Naofumi is accused of bad things. And almost as jarring as Black Panther's friend turned on him, everyone in the entire kingdom turns on Naofumi, because he was accused of doing those bad things with the princess of the entire kingdom. But they can't quite kill him because he's a shield hero. And that event right there pretty much sets the precedent of the rest of the show, or at least a good chunk of it. A main character that was essentially a shut-in in Japan is now thrown into a new world where it's amplified. He's not just a shut-in, he's not just some sort of an introvert, he's an outcast, he's a pariah, he's hated. This was a really hard part to watch, because you as the audience know that she's completely lying. She set him up. I'm not really going to get into why, because that goes into a lot of that detail I was talking about earlier. Like I said, the show is it's a lot, it's heavy, but you feel for Naofumi because no one wants to interact with him. And as he's going along his journey, he starts to realize that people hate the shield hero. They love the 3 other legendary heroes, but detest him, and he doesn't understand why. He starts to feel so isolated and so alone. And one of the things I really liked about this show is that the show makes it so the 4 legendary heroes can't be in a certain proximity with each other in order to get XP. So they can't form a group of 4, a party of 4, and just go around the world with legendary weapons and, steamrolling the place. If they're within a certain proximity of each other, they no longer get experience points. So the game or the story or whatever this isekai world is forces them to venture out in different directions and build on their own experiences, forming their own team members, forming their own bonds and relationships with not only that main city that they're in, but the rest of the world. So the other heroes have it a lot easier than him. People are lining up to join their party, but Naofumi is struggling. Everyone hates the sight of him, so he has to work 10 times as hard with a quarter of the funding that the kingdom's given all the other heroes just to stay afloat. The reason this happened to him in this world is because he was too trusting of the princess that pretty much backstabbed him. So you start to see this guy who was a very nice guy become hardened and distrusting and honestly very callous with almost every decision he starts to make throughout the show. This show does a really nice job of putting us in his place and kind of asking ourselves, wouldn't you be this mean? Wouldn't you be this distrusting after everything he's been through? And if you really think of it that way, it's really hard to blame Naofumi from any decision he makes. But in that same episode, the show could show him saving a village because he knows it's the right thing to do. Throughout the series, he still encounters the other heroes as they're wandering around the world trying to, fix the problems of this new world. He'll stand up to the other heroes asking them what they've been doing. How come you haven't saved this village? I passed this other village. They were burning, they were dying, they were screaming. I cured their diseases. What have you guys been doing? So you realize that Naofumi still wants to do the right thing, but he just doesn't want to trust anyone while he's doing it. And in this video, I don't really want to talk about how he got his other party members. He has Melty, he has Raftalia, he has Philo. So you're not really going to see me talk about them that much in this video because honestly, all of them have so much going on this season, and it's no wonder that they couldn't fit everything from the light novel and the manga into this season. There's so much character development and growth throughout this party, it's honestly insane. It makes me wonder how I know so much about a villain or some of the side characters in this isekai better than I know side characters that's had over 100 episodes of potential character development. What is her name? Like, seriously, what is your name? It started out as a joke, but honestly, I don't even know anymore. Yes, they do get other party members, and they do join his crew by very, I would say, unconventional means. And because of those unconventional means, a lot of the world still looks down on him. One of the most interesting things I found about this show is just how, I'm not sure about prideful, but more about how stubborn the other three heroes were. I really expected him to be able to confide in at least one of them very well, and each of them have their own unique personalities, actually very much so, but they all have this sense of stubbornness that's almost infuriating to watch. When this show is compared to other isekais, I kind of put this in between somewhere like Slime and Mushoku, and not for quality, that's not really what I'm getting at, it's more about the tone of the show, and that's because the show really does focus on the characters a lot more than other isekais. The show strikes a really good balance of world building and character development. It's a bit more world building than Mushoku, but doesn't quite do character development as much as Mushoku. But the show is pretty action-packed. It does a really good job of trying to balance almost everything going on in it. And one thing I didn't really touch on much in this video is the combat and the shield itself and how party members work. And I'm not really going to talk about the party members too much. Again, I could do a whole video on the party member system alone, but just know that when there's a person in this party, there's almost like a enhancement boosts to combat abilities on all sides. Granted, Naofumi can't do traditional damage, but it can do other non-conventional means of combat and fighting. He can temporarily buff the stats of his allies, or maybe he can nerf the stats of his enemies. He can poison his enemies. If an enemy attacks him, maybe his shield has an ability where he can do a quick counter attack. There's so many different ways of attacking, and this is just with the shield. You start to see the other legendary heroes do really cool and flashy attacks that I kind of want to see how they learn those things. And they actually kind of touch on that at the end of the season. But again, I don't want to get into that. Any segue I do in this show will end up being its whole video, and I don't want this video to be 25 minutes. This show does amazing things and tells us stories in an amazing way. Even though the light novel's still going, there's a point in this season where everyone rejoiced with, I don't want to say a sense of justice, but almost a sense of validation, true validation for how Naofumi's been treated. And it's probably my favorite part of the entire series. There's a part where I laughed so loud I almost fell off the couch. This show does a great job of balancing comedy, humor, action, and storytelling. I said in my last isekai video that one of the things that makes an isekai, at least for me, feel real is when I can put myself in the main character's shoes and say, yeah, you know what, maybe I would do that, or damn, I really get how he's feeling. And this show encompasses that almost better than any other isekai I've ever seen. And one final note about the series, obviously the main character has an all-female group because that's anime and this is the world we live in with anime, but the show's not lewd. And that took me by surprise actually. There's very few lewd jokes and there's very few lewd moments to the point where I am having trouble remembering them. So if you're like me, you don't like those overly lewd moments in anime, you'll probably love Shield Hero. And if you like overly lewd moments in anime, hopefully that's not a requirement for you to watch anime. So I'm sure you'll like Shield Hero too. And for this video, I was purposely being vague. I left a lot of stuff out. There's no way I can cover everything in Shield Hero in less than 30 minutes. There's just so much that goes into the show, from his itemizations, from him learning about how his shield really works with absorbing new monster materials and crafting new shields and blood sacrificing, and there's just so much to this show. There's no way I can cover everything. So yeah, the video is short. The video is somewhat vague on purpose because I don't want it to spoil anything for anyone that wants to give this show a shot. But yeah, if you like this video, guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know if you guys like these kind of mini reviews I'm doing. If you want more anime and anime related content and Shield Hero related content, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I didn't mention this in my last video, but we reached 1,000 subs. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be making more videos. Thanks for watching.